a fireside chat. This will be a fireside chat like no other. I'll tell you why. It's because you will see a pragmatic implementation of dock-to-dock implementation of robotics on one pane of glass. This has been a vision in the world of DCs and fulfillment centers. So I want to invite Biju Nair, President of Assurant, to join me for a fireside chat. Come on, Biju. Give Biju a big hand, please. Wherever you want, pick a place and pick a mic, and we'll... All right.
Oh, you're mic'd up. You don't need one.
Yeah, I'm mic'd up. Should we wait for the people to come back in? Let's start. So, Biju, why don't you introduce yourself to the team, please?
Great. First of all, Shri and the Avataar team, thank you for the opportunity. Just honored to be here among so many great minds in AI and robotics. I'm the president and one of the business unit leaders for a company called Assurant. I lead a business called Global Connected Living, which is tied to all the topics that we'll be talking about today. In a prior life, much like all of you guys, I was a startup junkie, have done 4 different companies, lucky to have exited all of them. My last company, Hyla Mobile, was sold to Assurant about 5 years ago. A lot of times people ask me, why are you still here? Great company, great culture. I'm enjoying what I'm doing. And engineer by training, electronics and computer engineering and computer science degree, businessman by accident and necessity, and innovator because innovator die.
All right. So, Biju, have you built robotics before? Right? Hang on, that's not the end of the question. But this is a person who has probably not built robotics before. He's built an end-to-end robotics automation facility, close to around 250,000, 300,000 square feet, 75 robotic systems, many of them homegrown. So would love to understand how this all came about, Biju.
Yeah, great question. I barely knew how to spell robotics, let alone having built robotics before. It came together, so it'll help to understand what is it that we do in the Global Connected Living business. So if you guys have recently upgraded a phone, I believe iPhone 17 just came out a couple of months back or last month. If you've upgraded it through any of your carriers or retailers, they probably offered you a trade-in for your old phone. If you traded in your old phone, that transaction happens over our software platform. That comes into one of our device care centers, which is this robotized facility that Shri is talking about. And they probably sold you an insurance plan for your phone. We are the ones who underwrite that, manage that. Anytime you file a claim, we are the ones who service all of that. So think about this. So we have about 19 facilities around the world, 4 here in the United States. And the biggest one in Nashville, on an average, last year, we got about 18 million phones coming through. So this is very high scale. So when these phones come through, what happens? There are a few different tasks. Most of it is mechanical and on a mundane task. It comes in, we have to receive an account for the box that came in, because the average used phone costs about $350. So if you're getting 20 million of these, you do the math. If you lose a few of them, we are in big trouble. And then we have to make sure that we open these boxes, we triage them, we charge them up, then we have to process them. Processing involves a couple of different steps. Testing to make sure the functionality is there. The test results in a grade for the phone, so we determine a grade. And then we have to data clear them. We cannot assume that these phones have all been data cleared by the consumer. Consumer private information is very important to protect. And then orders come in for the sale of these devices. These needs to be put away. You were talking earlier about the pick, pack, and ship process. So these things get they get depalletized, then they get put away as individual ones. When the orders come in, they need to be went and picked up. So robotic experts here, you can sort of see tons and tons of opportunities where these tasks need to be automated and robotized for a variety of different reasons. One, labor cost and scalability of labor. Think about this for a second. Every September, a fruit company that is located in this neck of the woods releases a phone, and the buying frenzy just starts. And we could literally triple our labor force from August till February to deal with all the craziness about old phones being upgraded to these newer phones. It's not a good business model to operate with, especially with rising labor costs and shortage of labor availability. Secondly, many of these tasks are mundane, injury-prone, repetitive stress injury, et cetera. So in the protection of our employees and taking care of the scalability of the business, the profitability of the business, we decided we want to automate it. And it was during my startup days. We gave $500,000 to one of the smarter engineers and said, hey, start to automate some of these capabilities. And we have a couple of metrics: cost per unit, which is very important, and units per hour. How many devices can be processed per hour? I told him, for every dollar you can save in cost per unit, I'm going to give you $3 more. Of course, he asked for a lot more, but that was the incentivized system that we put in place in order to make it happen. So that's how it got started. And we didn't go for the big bang. We didn't try to build a humanoid that'll walk around and do everything from end to end. And many of you have talked about this, that special purpose robotics for what we do is, and I'm a big believer in that, because that's how you get the highest efficiency and the throughput associated with that.
So why don't we roll a video and let's see if that works. If you have any voiceover, please.
Yeah. So, packages are coming in, and you can see that it's automated. And so we get about 1 million boxes a month. So it's scanning very, very quickly. And this is important because if you're missing a box coming in from a AT&T store, you're accountable for that. It could be UPS didn't deliver it, didn't know what happened. And then we want to make sure that we are making our technicians efficient. They need both hands to do the work, so we don't want them to be holding scanners. So we try to use smart glasses. And this is the QR code that can track the inventory all throughout while it's in the warehouse. And this is really important. AI-based cosmetic evaluation. If I pass my phone around right now to 10 people, everybody will grade it differently. It's very subjective. And the difference in price versus an A grade and a B grade, it's about $80. Multiply that by 20 million if you make a mistake. So consistent cosmetic grading is super important. So you can see the different robotic elements. Buffing and polishing. Sometimes there are small blemishes. If you can buff and polish, you can upgrade that phone to an A grade, and again, about an $80 difference in price for that. So that's what you're seeing out there. You can see how special purpose all of these are. Functional testing is very important, because if a broken screen is there, it doesn't matter whether the Bluetooth is working or not. It's going to be a C grade phone. So it's intelligent enough to route it accordingly, but otherwise it does go through a very detailed 72 different tests that it does. And again, there are automated ways to run this test to different grade levels. And if you're selling it back into a higher grade, like an insurance replacement, you have to test it even more deep. And so we do a deep cellular testing there. And then automatic bagging systems, so that the inventory can be ready for sale. Gets a scanner there so that we can track it. And then as it's being prepared for put away, based on the type of phone and the type of sale that is going to happen. And that's ready to sell inventory at that point. And when orders come in, this is a little bit dated. Box fabrication, we used to have this as well, because as you can imagine, we consume a lot of boxes. But we are also tied up together with AT&T and T-Mobile and others to their stores. If their boxes run low, we automatically ship them some boxes. So in the interest of sustainability, we got a pack size machine, and we can put it together to different sizes. So if somebody wants, it's a small store, they want to only ship 10 units at a time, we can send them a smaller box. There are other stores that pack 25 into a box. Customers ship one at a time, so we can pack one at a time. So you saw, there are a few other things, like we've got locust robots running around. We're doing this put away, and when an order comes in, it assists our technicians to pick it. Now, keep in mind, this is a cobotic system, right? There are people in the middle. Not everything has got a robotic arm associated with that. We get the classic questions about, is this going to take away job or something like that? The way I tell the people is this: robots don't have to worry about anything. People are not going to take away their jobs.
Thank you. Thank you. What's really interesting, this is reverse logistics.
Reverse logistics, yeah.
Can someone here tell me which location is the reverse logistics capital in the United States? Come on. I'll get you a free drink after. I'm sorry? Roseville? No. All right. Where in Texas? All right, it's in Dallas. Right, so look, it's in Dallas, and if you are building something associated with reverse logistics, where would you put this facility? In Dallas. But these guys built it in Nashville. So why? Why did you do that? Pray tell.
For the same reason as Sri mentioned, Dallas is the capital of reverse logistics. Everybody and their brother-in-law's got a facility out there, including our clients. So it was very expensive, real estate. Anybody who's rented a warehouse in the DFW area, I mean, that's highway robbery right there, right? So so that was one of the reasons. The second thing, it was getting extremely competitive. Toyota had just moved there at that time. Many of the other logistics companies, Amazon was growing there like crazy. And Nashville was the sleepy little town, 10, 12 years ago where, not a whole lot was going on. So we got the same tax incentives from the state of Tennessee as Texas was offering us. And then for one of our larger clients, that geographic diversity was very important. They had their own warehouse in Dallas. And we decided that Nashville would be better. So we have phenomenally diverse workforce out there, and we were able to get people. And so much so, we moved from the Smyrna area, suburb of Nashville, to Mount Juliet, which is about 15 miles away. And we lost 3 people. And think about that workforce, right? I mean, if you decide to move 200 yards, people may quit. And this, not everybody has got driving and everything else, but we were growing at such a large scale that we could not find it in the Smyrna area, and we moved over there. So all of those reasons put together, and there's a fairly large immigrant community out there that is willing to come in and work. If you go to one of our facilities, you'll see instructions in English, Spanish, and Arabic. And the facilities that we have built, we have a phenomenal HR team. They put prayer rooms in there. There are pantries that are kept out there because if you're pregnant and you happen to run out of snacks for the food, you can just scan your badge, go in there and get some free food and do all of that stuff. So one of the big reasons is the culture why we did not lose very many people even when we moved 15, 20 miles north of where we are.
Look, talk about bucking the trend, right? And he didn't talk about his love for a specific kind of music, but we'll put that aside, right? Having said that, tell me one thing, your org design. What's so special is for those of us who have sold big systems to like retailers like Target, Walmart, and other retailers, we know that the robotic systems basically report into either the IT organization, a supply chain organization. Biju here is a P&L leader, and he went and built a robotic system, and that reports into you and not to the tech organization.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I more appreciated that after I sold the company, because we are in what everybody knows as a matrix organization. So IT is a matrix that supports us just like HR, legal, finance, etc. And they do fine with our large systems. Being a reasonably large public company, we have compliance, SOC compliance, etc. So they do a great job with that. But can you imagine, how many startups here, if I start thinking about a system and the first thing that the IT team tells you is, well, I got to make this SOC compliant, I was ready to slash my veins with a blunt spoon. So I that much appreciated when I had the team reporting to myself, and I kept it that way all through, even though there were multiple attempts to take it away. Because we have the engineering organization, the robotics, the 40 out of the 85 people are co-located at that device care center, at that warehouse. So they have their own separate facility. None of them have offices. None of them have assigned desks. They need to be walking the shop floor every single day, asking dumb questions. Why are you doing it that way? And they start to think, and then they engage that operator in developing that solution. So all of that, what you saw out there, this was built over a span of 7, 8, 10 years, right? It was not built overnight. And we wanted to do it in a way where it makes sense. If they cannot justify an operational efficiency, which is units per hour improvement, or a cost efficiency, which is cost per unit, I don't approve the budget. So I personally manage and control that budget. Of course, there are people 10 times smarter than me who are actually doing the real work. And we hired those people to bring them on board, and we continue to build it. And I think the mothership IT team has stopped fighting me on wanting to take that team over. We keep them over there with very little overhead and working very nimble ways. And these guys are also good salespeople. When we don't bring clients into our headquarters in Atlanta or Chicago, if they want to come meet with me, I'll say, why don't you come over to Nashville? We'll show you a day in the life of the device. They absolutely, I can't tell you how many deals we have closed in Nashville, just standing right there. When you see that stuff in real time, you're just blown away by the capabilities.
Thank you for that. Another bucking the trend. When you talk about robotics, people talk about, again, centers of excellence around Pittsburgh with CMU. You have Stanford here, you have MIT, Georgia Tech. But most of your talent, they're in Nashville. Can someone tell me from which university they are basically hiring talent? Come on. Vandy, okay, you're talking about Vandy. No, it is, Middle Tennessee State University. There is a democratization of robotics talent. In over a decade, it has percolated to different parts. Karthi was sitting here. Look at agility robotics, humanoid. They're getting talent from OSU, Oregon State University. So the point here is, you've bucked the trend there. Talk to us a little bit about how you're involved with the local universities and how you've created this pipeline of talent. And that, in a strange way, makes you so capital efficient. Eric spoke about capital efficiency, and the previous panel also spoke about being capital efficient. This is a new thing that's happening in the world of startups.
Yeah. No, it's a great point, Sri. We think about this. Look at the talent that is working in the robotics and AI industry today, right? And ask any one of them, hey, you want to come work for an insurance company? They will run away before I finish the sentence, right? Because you don't think about Assurant as a technology-forward company. My business unit is, but still an insurance company. So when we started building this solution, we said, we need to find a way to attract the right talent. Luckily, the guy who heads up the robotics space, he came from Tesla and other places, so he's got a lot of experience in that area. So Brandon Johnson, who's my head of global supply chain, who was the brainchild behind all of this, the guy I gave the first $500,000 to go build this thing, he came up with, hey, I think we can get a lot of people from MTSU. So I'm like, what is MTSU? Middle Tennessee State University. So I just walked out of the room. I'm like, you're delusional for the same reason that Sri mentioned. Dude, you're not going to find any people from there. I said, hear me out. He kept pitching me for about a week or a week and a half, sending me all these materials and using words to me like mechatronics. I'm like, what the heck is a mechatronics? So then he educated me on, this is a department that they have started where, in the robotics world, as you guys well know better than me, that the hardware and the software blurs, the line kind of blurs. So they started mechatronics because you need mechanical engineering, electronics engineering, software engineering. So they started this department and kept doing all of these things together. I went out there for a tour very reluctantly. I was supposed to be there for an hour. I think I stayed there for 3.5 hours. I was so fascinated with what they were doing. So we annually donate a big chunk of money to the university. There is an Assurant Innovation Center named after us in there. Brandon sits on the board of the university, and he gets first access to them. We hire a lot of interns from there, and more often than not, when they're in their third year, we make them an offer. Many a times we just say, we'll pay off your tuition bill if you sign up for the next 3 years. And we do very, very creative things to keep them. And these young engineers come on board, they learn under the shadow of some of the more experienced engineers. I started out by saying that if we can retain somebody here for a couple of years, we'd be very lucky. Our average tenure in that team has now been about 7.5 years. So very successful program that those guys have been running for us, and it's bucked the trend and it's worked very well for us.
Thank you for that. Given the time that we have, I'm going to make this a two-part question. Give a couple of examples, Biju, of the aha moments, the innovation, especially the one that you mentioned the other day about where you had a QR code stamped and that was being blown away. So examples like that. So that's number one. Two, there are so many founders here whose technologies and products could be relevant to what you're doing. And some sage advice to those founders in terms of what a buyer like you, a $1 billion buyer like you, will be looking for.
So I talked about the model where we have these engineers walk around and come and find out what we're doing. So I'll talk about the box cutter, and then I'll talk about this interesting story with the QR code. So box cutter, there are people standing there and cutting boxes every single day. Mundane, boring job. 10 people employed for that, 3 shifts. Injuries happening, all kinds of issues. These blades break. We tried plastic, they break. And these boxes are of different kinds. So one of these engineers, they were walking around and said, why can't we build a box cutter? Well, we get boxes of all shapes and sizes, right? 10 packers, 20 packers, individual boxes from people who buy it on .com and returning their old phones, etc. So they came up and built a box cutter for us, working closely with some of the partners that are here, dedicated to what we are doing, again, purpose-built. And we replaced all of those people, promoted them to do more productive jobs. And this thing. And even there we had learnings. First, we would just cut off the top of the box. Then we said, oh, this thing is still being transported. So we started dropping phones. Then they said, okay, we got to modify this and cut only 3 sides of it so that even if somebody flips the box over, it doesn't fall out. And the technician who gets it can just rip it open, take out the box, and then recycling the box, and it goes off to detrashing. So that was one of the innovations where, again, we focused on cost, efficiency, and employee safety. This QR code thing is very efficient. I talked earlier about cleaning phones. These phones, before they are graded, they have to be cleaned. And we used to have a system where, we used to have a person sitting there, alcohol and microfiber cloths, rubbing these phones, depending on their mood, they clean it well. Sometimes they don't clean it well, smudges remain. And then when you send it into an automatic grading system, cosmetic evaluation system, we have to train it for smudges, and sometimes new models are very challenging. I said, we need a better cleaning facility because, again, toxins, people need to sit there with masks and stuff while they're cleaning it. So we got a dry ice cleaning system. And you saw a glimpse of that during the thing. There are 2 KUKA robotic arms. One holds it, cleans one end, hands it off to the other side, then the dry ice cleans. The dry ice dries up really quickly, so there's no loss in time. So it takes about 3 seconds to clean a phone, and then it goes into vision tunnel for analysis. But what you saw the QR code being placed in the beginning, that is the inventory tracker for it the whole time. These dry ice machines are blowing dry ice with very high pressure, blowing off this thing. Huge issue, man. How are we going to do this? We can't reduce the pressure. How are we going to take care of it? The junior most engineer, I think it was an intern who came up and said, hey, we already know the QR code of the guy because he scanned it and went in. Why don't we just restamp the QR code on it when it comes out of the cleaning machine? All these experienced engineers standing there, oh shit, I wish I had thought about that one, right? So we didn't reinvent the machine, but we just restamped the QR code. Practical innovation rather than trying to go boil the ocean when you run into a problem like this. So 2 examples there are tons of that, that free drink when Shri buys us, catch me there and buy me a free drink and I'll talk to you about it. And also, what are some of the things that you can do? In terms of, I don't like to give advice. I can share experiences. Network. Talk to people. We use a lot of the components. We heard about box pickers. Very practical application in what we do at different size levels and things like that. Build a network and work hard on that network. It's not enough just to have a conversation. Right? If you see an interesting article published by somebody at Assurant, reach out to them and say, hey, so interesting, let me reach out. Genuineness in those things matter. Building great products that are important, purpose fit, etc. Somebody once told me, build your product like air and water, easy to consume and hard to live without. That's very good advice. The last thing, growth comes with pain and suffering. Build a healthy dose of resilience. It's going to come in very handy when you're going to be running through your startup world.
All right. Thank you, Biju. Any questions for Biju? Bring on, AJ.
So that is one of the most insane industries. So inspiring and wild. So in the trenches that you guys basically built all this stuff, help me understand the difference in outcome between what you accomplished, being so engaged in the details, versus if I had been a private equity guy and I decided I wanted to get into reverse logistics. And so, I hired McKinsey and McKinsey hired Dematic and we spent our money you did the exact opposite of that. And help me understand what you won for it.
What we won for it is a couple of different things, right? So the industry average, the big reverse logistics players spend, conservatively speaking, an average of about $19 per device for processing the devices, right? So in my world, that has come down to low to mid single digits cost, right? That's the scale. So what I essentially did was I commoditized that entire operation. There are companies that just made money off of this by working with carriers and retailers by saying, oh, you got to scale up because Apple just launched a phone. I'm going to hire more people and I'm going to charge you back for that, right? Not a bad business model, but the profit margins are going in the other direction for everybody. So there's going to be a pressure in every element of what we do. So that helped. The second big win, AJ, for us was, I told you that, first of all, Nashville is a cool town for music and booze and everything else. So clients are always happy to come to Nashville, right? But when you take them through that entire thing, a day in the life of a device, and show them what's going on, they walk away just as awestruck as they are. I can't tell you the number of times we are in the middle of an RFP, and we invited them to come and visit our facilities. And during that meeting, they basically just privately told us, well, it was after a couple of cocktails, we are going to award this RFP to you. And it happens. And Japanese clients in particular love coming to Nashville. And we have closed many deals out there.
All right. The next set of questions will be at the cocktail hour, but